Okay, welcome back to the Farm Quest. This is getting good now because I've spent enough time on macro strategy. That is the concept of min-maxing your garden to optimize your buildings to pay out resources, only to awaken to the truth. There is no point optimizing something that you cannot maintain. It does not matter if your garden is beautiful, if it is not manageable, and mowing only creates more mowing. And so I've got to max out my garden with smarts and stamina in order to reap the benefits of these buildings in the long game. But today we get into micro strategy, getting in close on maintaining individual battle theatre zones, production projects, front lines. The next episode will be a special episode on the mower issue. It's basically the key issue we're currently confronted with. But this episode, we're going to follow up in more detail the establishment of this ring pathway, battle perimeter around these key buildings, and the key reason for this was access. I mean that by establishing secure and reliable access around this perimeter, we can observe emerging opportunistic gains. And those familiar with historical grand strategy know that success lies simply in being capable of judging and acting on emerging opportunities. Our perimeter pathway represents the broadest possible access to whatever opportunities might emerge. I can easily get around this consolidated area within this pathway perimeter. I can see where I can just get in with the weed whacker for 10 or 15 minutes, find that the weeds are coming away pretty easy, and it's going to yield a nice gain that preferably to some extent can be held. So that's why I wanted to take a good look over here where I've seized the opportunity to start spidering out on the offensive like a vicious octopus, extending these pathways here outward from the perimeter using a sandwich technique I've developed. Gravel on cardboard on gravel on cardboard, and this has opened up new territory quickly and opportunistically, because previously, and I'm talking about 4 or 5 months ago, I had only laid down just the cardboard here, and when I gave the weeds a bit of a bash and threw down some more cardboard, I realized that cardboard and even a bunch of old vinyl records from the 70s that I found in the trash was still underneath here, and I was ready to now for the first time start extending gravel out to these areas with a huge boost in confidence that this cardboard actually lasts months. And as I just put more and more gravel on top of it, if it gets to the point where you're just using the poison spray here, and this is what I'm finding with the poison here, it only really has one use, and that is spraying down your paths where small seeds are trying to get a start. You won't rely on using a lot of poison, especially when it's baking hot or the days are short and cold and you're designing your garden. So it just needs a light little spray along your paths and your corners. So what was the point of these particular paths? Well, from the last episode, you know my strategy is already evolving. Playing wide, expanding opportunistically like this, and taking a little bit of a breakout risk and advancing to establish a new building site so early. Definitely playing wide with the strategy, because all of my current buildings are underperforming in terms of resources generated, but by immediately smashing all my current resources deep into potentially habitable new buildings, this is going to give me more dynamic options for potential use of this building. Yes, I will have another building that is underperforming, but I've got more options to move forward with. I've got more cards on the table. That's how I make adaptation key to my strategy. If something isn't working, by which I mean the lawnmower, we look for greener pastures, so to speak. priming up these side paths on a side quest to take on the boss quest of adding a brand new habitable building. But otherwise, you will see this whole front line here has been taken over by pumpkins. Just smashing a few pumpkins from last season into the ground at the beginning of spring, and it's just totally taken over this front. And there was some friendly fire where I had to rescue our grapevine over here, but otherwise sensational. The key junction, the fig junction, clearing out nice, and also two paths spidering out here, unlocking more food beds down here. And this is where I'm feeling the extent of where this cardboard gravel combo is going, because the other two paths are designed to begin linking the potentially habitable new building to a potential parking area. So you will see what I'm working on beside the garage here. So we're putting down the plastic first, and then this gravel is going on top, and that's much nicer to park your car in than in the weeds. And then all you need to do is just give it a little spray, and this is why it's been so good to do this recovery campaign, because you get to find out what actually makes up a decent maintenance plan, effective maintenance, knowing that if I am to be going away for months at a time, when I come back it's not going to be that hard work getting the weeds cleared, because they can't take hold when there's all this gravel being put down on the plastic. Even if you're like me and want to rely less on poison, it's still going to be much easier to manage once you've decided to put a path or one of these park up spots down. So I'm also developing this little area as kind of a barracks for seedling soldiers and potted plants. The basil is already here, mainly just because of its convenient location along the perimeter, right next to this water here, and simply an extension actually of this strawberry deck, which we will have a look at. Not a huge amount of fruit right now, but definitely expanding on our recruitment program. Almost amazingly to the point here where the strawberries are shooting out these tendrils, and can you believe it, these strawberries are actually conducting self-directed attacks on the weed front line. So that's quite incredible how aggressive these strawberries can get. I'll show you right now the center of recruitment. New tendrils mean new plants, and I don't really count the fruit right now because the chickens like to eat them. But as long as we are just expanding the amount of plant units we have, we are going to have a formidable strawberry force. Red Army tactics, just numbers, overwhelm them. So along the pebble path, you'll see the poison I have used is kind of doing okay. The lawn situation is getting critical, but we're saving that showdown until the next episode. We'll just follow around this path so you can see exactly what's going on. That it's been easy enough to restore the pebble areas and push out because the weeds don't take hold. But with the mower busted up, desperate solutions you may have spotted last episode have been applied in this particular weak link of our perimeter, where I've just slammed down this cardboard, really more for a psychological morale boost that this perimeter is secure. Furthermore, we've even conducted opportunistic assaults on the borders of these garden beds, which are actually some of our most remote beds actually, just to unlock a very surprising discovery that looking for some tree seedlings, what I've found is that a couple of offcuts from a yucca tree around the front are now growing here, so definitely unlocking surprise bonuses from new allies joining the fight there on this line. And here as we join around back to the brand new building area that promises so much potential, we will finish up this episode looking at what opportunities we're hitting along this perimeter path. We have almost secured completely now, except for one thing. We just have too much at stake now. There's too much riding to go on with these ragged looking lawns, so let's see what the dilly-dealio we're going to take on this mower showdown situation next time we catch up here on the Farmlet Quest.